The first question, explain the responsibility of the department to each. We'll start with the City of Lafayette.
Well, the role of the Lafayette Fire Department is to provide fire protection services for the citizens in the City of Lafayette. That includes responding to fire calls or any type of emergency that requires our attention. We're also responsible for inspecting buildings for fire hazards, as well as making sure that if you have a fire in a particular location, the investigation is done to see whether or not it may have been a product liability or it may have been an arson type fire. And if it's an arson fire, then our investigators have full police authority to be able to go and do their own investigations and arrest those responsible for starting those fires. If it's a product liability issue, that's something we send to the federal government. They put that out saying that this is a product that they need to look at for malfunction problems. We also have a training division that trains all of our firefighters in the City of Lafayette to be regular firefighters. We also train various other government agencies in the city for CPR and first aid, those types of things. Then you have your 911 center, which is the one that pretty much impacts everybody, because the 911 center is located over here at the Central Fire Station. And so when you dial 911 and you say you're having some type of fire-related emergency, then the 911 operator is going to transfer that call to the Lafayette Fire Department's dispatcher, who in turn is going to dispatch the closest fire apparatus to your emergency. We have a Class 2 fire rating with the scale being a Class 1 being the worst and a best, and a Class 10 being the worst. So it's in 10-point increments. We also respond to pretty much anything else in the City of Lafayette based on taxpayer dollars, such as vehicle extrication and hazmat incidents. That's pretty much what we do in the City of Lafayette. We also have some responsibilities for the parish as well.
Right. So, so let's move to, how about we go to municipalities in the parish? Yeah.
Now, what we have is for the small towns that we call municipalities, we have a contractual agreement with the Lafayette Consolidated Government on the parish side with each one of the small towns, volunteer fire departments. We have 7 volunteer fire departments. 2 of them pretty much fall under the parish of Lafayette, which would be Judy's and Milton. But the other 5, Broussard, Caron Crowe, Dusson, Youngsville, and the other one, I can't think of the last one. Scott. Mm-hmm. Those 5, they have their own towns, so they have a contractual agreement between LCG on the parish side with the volunteer fire department to respond in the unincorporated areas of the parish. Now, the way that works is that they respond with a single company, and we respond, the Lafayette Fire Department, with a single company, and we meet in that area and provide those fire protection services for the citizens in that particular area. Youngsville and Judy's, same agreement. The only difference is with them is they're not incorporated as a small town, so they pretty much fall under the authority of the Lafayette Consolidated Government.
And so that's Milton and Judy?
Milton and Judy's.
Yeah, okay.
When I said Youngsville, Milton and Judy's. Okay.
So then the unincorporated area, so that's how the unincorporated areas of the parish work as well. Is that what you
were
just describing?
Exactly.
So that's where the cooperation.
Right, and that's a long-standing agreement that we've been improving on from year after year after year. But it really started back in the early 80s. Okay. And how that came to be was that because in the state of Louisiana, the statute clearly states that in order for a fire apparatus to respond and be dispatched to an emergency, it has to be dispatched by a fire department employee, which is certified through the state of Louisiana. So you can't have a regular 911 operator that's non-fire certified dispatch a truck. So it was easy to have the Lafayette Fire Department, because at the time everybody had their own dispatching service, and they still do today, before you had 911. So it was easy for the Lafayette Fire Department to dispatch everybody. Mm-hmm. And so all we did was tighten up those agreements over the years to where when you call for fire service help, whether you're in Scott, Youngsville, Dusson, or in unincorporated areas, you're going to get the Lafayette Fire Department's dispatcher. And we're going to in turn send the closest truck to that particular area. Now, where we've expanded in the parish is because of the vehicle extrication issues, where you have an automobile accident, then the Lafayette Fire Department is going to respond if you're trapped in that vehicle to get you out. Some of the volunteer fire departments have started getting their own rescue equipment, so then they're also responding in those areas as well. So if they get there and they can handle it, then they just turn us around. Now, when it comes to hazardous materials, we take care of that for both the City of Lafayette, the unincorporated areas, and the small towns. Okay. We have one of the best hazmat units pretty much in the state. and we work closely with the state police, who's in charge of all hazardous material incidents. But there are some times when we'll leave and go to another parish. For instance, when Iberia had that train incident several years back, we went out there and assisted the state police in that area. In Eunice, when they had the train derailment, we went over there and assisted the police there, as well as the one we had a couple of years back in St. Landry Parish in Opelousas area, where that train derailed. So we pretty much control all of the hazardous material stuff for the city of Lafayette Parish, as well as the unincorporated areas.
All right, so so then maybe you can describe what an intergovernmental agreement is. How does it work?
What you have is you have the contractual agreement between the government and the small towns to provide fire protection services. In that, what they get is they get a fire investigator that's going to investigate their fires in the parish as well as the ones in the city, and they're going to get a dispatcher that we provide, but they pay the salaries for those two individuals. Then you have what we call intergovernmental agreements between, what we call mutual aid agreements between the Lafayette Fire Department and the volunteer fire departments. We have what we call the Lafayette Fire Protection Association organization that consists of the fire chief of the city of Lafayette and the fire chief of each one of the volunteer fire departments. We come together on a quarterly basis to identify how fire protection is going to be handled in all of those different areas. But we also have a mutual aid agreement between us and them that in the event they have something in their town that they can't handle by themselves, we will respond to assist, and vice versa. If we got something large going on in Lafayette and it's depleting our resources, they will come help us, or they will come stand by in our stations to take care of the rest of the city while we take care of those issues. Then we have what they call automatic aid agreements. Those agreements are with Karen Crow and Scott, where we can respond with a truck on the first alarm. I'll give you an example with Karen Crow. If there's a fire in the city of Karen Crow, well then when Karen Crow is dispatched, Engine 9, which is the closest engine company to Karen Crow, will automatically respond with that department, which is considered an automatic aid agreement. You don't have to wait to be called, you automatically respond with them. Then we have some agreements between other agencies outside of Lafayette Parish, one being the state police, where the state police uses our training facility off of Dugard Road to teach motorcycle classes to the public. And then we have an agreement with the town of St. Martinville and the parish of St. Martinville, where they come into Lafayette and use our training facility for the driving tarmac to be able to drive and train their firefighters. And in turn, whatever props they have over there that we want to use, we can go over there and use those props as well.
So the mutual aid agreements, the automatic aid agreements, are those subject to approval by the City Parish Council?
Yes, everything that we engage in is subject to approval by the City Parish President. We don't engage in anything without getting the approval from them and having legal look at it to make sure it's drafted right. And then we have a risk management look at it to make sure that the necessary insurance coverage is there to protect all of the parties involved.
Okay. Let's see, I think, said any intergovernmental cooperation among or between fire outside of Lafayette Parish. You mentioned
That would be St. Martin Parish, and that would also be with the agreement with the state police.
Right.
Now, the rest of the small, I shouldn't say small towns, the rest of the towns that are outside of Lafayette Parish, if they have a situation, all they got to do is call us.
Oh.
You know, even though we don't have an agreement with them, they can call us for assistance, and we'll send as much help as we can outside of the city to help them. You know, without that agreement, you know, it's kind of like a unwritten agreement saying that, you know, we're all in this together. Yeah. You need help, you know, call us, and if we need help, we'll call you as well. Yeah. A good example of that would be the fire department at the airport. The fire department at the airport is a private company owned by Rural Metro out of Scottsdale, Arizona. They contract with the airport through the feds to provide fire protection services for airplanes and the tarmac. The property that it sits on is under the authority of the city of Lafayette, therefore the Lafayette Fire Department responds. So in the event you have a fire at the airport, then we're going to respond. They're going to respond with us. There's no agreement that says they have to, but because of the mutual respect between the two, we respond together. The same way if an airport, but we're in charge of taking care of the issue with the airport because the building falls under the city of Lafayette. But now, if it's a plane, we're going to go and assist the airport fire department. meaning that them and the feds are both in charge, and we're just going to follow that lead and respond to the emergencies.
So then I was asking about, the last question I had was agreements with other governing authorities, which
Other than the state police or St. Martin Parish, those are the only
That's it.
two agreements we have that are outside of Lafayette.
And is there anything, and this is kind of off my my text here, but like with the different mutual agreements, like say for example in St. Martin Parish, how does funding? Is there a
We just
flow of
reciprocate.
funding,
It's
or
not.
is it just,
We don't charge them, and they don't charge us because they may have some props over there that we don't have at our facilities, so we can utilize that. And in the same way, it's a trade-off of services.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have a huge drive and tarmac like we do, so they can come over there and use that. So it pretty much pays itself forward, back and forth between the two organizations.
Is there anything else you think we should know?
I think I said a whole lot in a short period of time. There is a contract that we're expanding on the parish side with the volunteers, where we're starting to hire part-time firefighters in the volunteer fire departments who are going to take care of responding to the calls for those departments between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Because what you see now is that over the past 20 years, you see guys who were volunteer fire departments, they own their own business, so they could respond to those calls with no problem. Now what you have is you have people who work for other people, and they can't easily get off during the daytime hours to respond to those calls. So now what we're doing is we're starting to put paid people part-time into those organizations to take care of responding to the calls during the day.
So the city of Lafayette's fire department is paying employees
The
in
Lafayette Consolidated Government,
or Lafayette,
out of the parish funds,
Okay.
are paying the volunteer fire departments to hire part-time people to put in their stations. That's something new that just started back in June of this year. And then what you're going to see during the budget process is that the council members are going to try and get funding, because right now we only started with Judy's and Milton, which was easy.
Because they're in the parish.
Right. And then Dusson said that they would step up to the plate and pay for 50% of a firefighter to respond in their area. So you've got those three departments right now that are being funded with some paid people at the cost of LCG. Then you're going to see going forward the other 4 municipalities are going to do the same thing, where they're going to get that money from the LCG on the parish side to fund those part-time firefighters as well.
And so I guess I would imagine Youngsville, Broussard, Carencro has an automatic aid agreement, but
but they're still gonna.
But I would imagine they've got real need there for.
Okay, now Carencro, Scott, Broussard, and Youngsville are already paying people within their towns to respond. But that's being paid by the city, those small cities. They're paying. They're paying people, but to take care of the unincorporated areas, that's where LCG is going to step in and pay those cities to provide that part-time help.
And Dusson is so small. It's,
but Dusson is really growing, and they have a lot of activity with the interstate. They make a lot of calls in that particular area.
All right. Yes. I think we're done. We're good.
Say 2.
All right, that was perfect.
Okay.